Hello, my fellow history geeks, and welcome back to another video. So, today's video is about the hair dryer. So, the first hair dryer was invented by the French stylist Alexandre Godefroy in 1888. His invention was a large, seated version, which consisted of a bonnet that attached to the chimney pipe of a gas stove. Godefroy invented it for use in his hair salon in France. It was neither portable nor handheld, so it could only be used by having the person sit underneath it. He thought of a helmet to be applied to the wet head of his clients and then attached with a tube to the chimney of a gas stove. The case also had a valve to let out steam to prevent the customers' heads from burning. The main focus was still on power usage to improve the efficiency of hair dryers. A few more developments were also made during this period, where the material and superficial exterior of overall hair dryers was changed. However, the mechanism of the hair dryer was still the same as introduced by Alexandre Godefroy in 1890. An Armenian-American inventor named Gabriel Kazanjian was the first to patent a hair dryer in the U.S. in 1911. Around the 1920s, the hair dryers began to go on the market in handheld form. This was due to innovations by National Stamping and Electric Works under the White Cross brand, and later the U.S., Racine Universal Motor Company and the Hamilton Beach Company, which allowed the dryer to be small enough to be held by hand. In 1915, there were some companies that had succeeded in introducing a handheld hair dryer, but it was still very heavy, making it difficult to use. These handheld hair dryers did also have a power usage problem. They were being limited to only 100 watts, which resulted in them taking too long to dry a person's hair. Godefroy's invention had inspired many thinkers to develop drying machines, each more bizarre and worrying than the last. In the 1920s, hand dryers were composed of a heating element and a fan first began to appear. The first manual electric model was invented in 1926 by an engineer working for the Caller Company, Leon Foulette. It was called the hot and cold air shower, and it was initially used in healthcare. It was used for applying heat to painful areas and cauterizing wounds. It was also used to heat beds and shoes, to defrost food, to warm up children, and much more. The very first portable dryers were made from metal and initially fitted with a wooden handle, which was later replaced with bakelite. They were very heavy, weighing close to 1 kilogram, and were difficult to use. Their electrical connections were not always very safe and ended up causing a number of problems, sometimes fatal accidents involving overheating and even electrocution. The airflow created by the machines was very weak, given their 100-watt capacity, and the women who had tested the first models were often exhausted before their hair had dried. There were a lot of efforts in hairdryer companies that came up with much more developed versions of the hairdryers in the early 1950s. These hairdryers were comparatively lightweight handheld devices in which a tube was connected with a bonnet that was worn on the head. This mechanism worked in a similar way by flowing air through the tubes into the bonnet and through the holes, providing even heat. But still, these devices used a maximum of 300 watts of power, which was still very low for drying a person's hair. The bonnet dryer was first introduced to consumers in 1951. This type worked by having the dryer, usually in a small portable box, connected to a tube that went into a bonnet with holes in it, so that it could be placed on top of a person's head. This worked by giving an even amount of heat to the whole head at once. This really caught on in the 1960s with the introduction of better electrical motors and the improvement of plastics. Another important change happened in 1954 when GC changed the design of the dryer to move the motor inside the casing. And the hair dryer really took off as a commodity in the 1960s when the metal was substituted for plastic, mainly ABS. It was made lighter, safer, insulated against heat. It was more affordable, available in any color, shape, and design. In the 1970s, the U.S. Consumer Products Safety Commission had set up guidelines that hair dryers had to meet to be considered safe to manufacture. Since 1991, the CPSC has mandated that all hair dryers must use a ground fault circuit interrupter so that it can't electrocute a person if it gets wet. By the 2000s, deaths of blow dryers had dropped to fewer than 4 people a year. It was a stark difference to the hundreds of cases of electrocution accidents during the mid-20th century. Nowadays, hairdryers' technology has changed quite a bit. They now have variable heat and speed settings for a quick but yet gentle blow drying and technology that helps to nourish the hair and improve hair volume. The design of hairdryers has also improved dramatically in recent years. They have become more user-friendly. Their designs of having long cords, comfortable handles, and magnetic nozzles that make it easier to attach and detach and make all the difference. And the weight has also been reduced quite a bit and the watts have more than doubled. Well, that was it for today's video. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe.